Welcome to Bossman Show, friend of the show, coach of Eastern Washington Eagles. Go Eagles out there, Big Sky Conference. My man Shantay Legans. Coach, my man, how you feeling, bro?
Feeling good, man. Thanks for having me. You know I like doing your show. It's the easiest one out there, man. Get to chop it up.
No doubt. Well, coach, you got a game against Montana. You've been playing really well in conference play. 9-2 on the year in the Big Sky play. You know, Montana serves a lot of problems with Coach DeCure and his guys. Man, I always play you two guys tough. Tell us about tonight's matchup you got this weekend with those boys over there from the Grizz.
It's a good team, good coach. He's one of the best coaches in the country. It's one of those things where you're excited to play them because it's they're them and Weber State top of the league. You know, most money in the league. You know, best tradition in the league, you should say. And everyone's trying to grab them. Everyone's trying to be like them. Everyone wants that tradition. And so, we want to do it a little different. We don't want to be like Montana. We want to be like Eastern. We don't want to be like Weber State. We want to be like Eastern. So, being able to go and play these guys, play our style, and try to go ahead and beat the big dogs is big for us. They beat us the last two times in the conference tournament, 2018-19. Obviously, what happened last year after we won the league, I felt good about our chances about playing them last year and hoping we got a chance to play them in the finals. But it didn't happen. But we won the league this year. This year we're leading the league. We're first place, and we got to go out and play our best game because Montana's always going to be Montana. Travis is always going to be Travis. And so you got to go out there and beat them. And the best way to do it is go out there on the court and just roll the balls out and say let's hoop. So it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a good environment. We get about 200 fans in here today. It's the first time our guys will play in front of some of their friends and family. So that's cool. And so they're excited about that. But more importantly, it's just another game that's going to keep getting us better. We're trying to get better for that conference tournament.
No doubt, man, because, this year's so weird. You only played so many games. This time you probably played 20 or so games already this year. So each game you win while getting better is a bonus, in my opinion, Coach.
Oh, man, it's huge. And each practice we have that's not stopped and you have to quarantine each week you can go, each game you can play with a little bit of continuity to get better and better. It really sets you up well for the end of the season. I mean, it's a tough season for all players. I feel bad for their psyche. It's tough for them mentally. You get these tests and you wait for them to see if you're able to play. You get a sniffle, you get your chest hurts, your body aches, you get a headache, man. First thing you go to is, man, I'm going to have to sit out, or we're going to have to sit out for a long time. It's tough on the guys. It's tough on their psyche. Coaches, we could deal with it, but we don't got to go out there and perform. We got to do our thing, but we ain't performing. It doesn't cost a physical toll on our bodies. And, you really try to look out for your student athletes. And that's the part that I've enjoyed is being able to see them grow mentally, physically, be mentally tough, understand what's going on, not get too high, not get too low. And, I've seen their maturity in that sense this whole year, taking whatever is thrown at them, doing whatever they've had to do to either play, to stay healthy, to look out for one another. And so I've been proud of my team, the way they've responded in certain situations.
No doubt, man. And what's good about it is you have a lot of guys who are dogs and love the game of basketball. Like my man Tanner and Kim in your front court. Tell us about those two front court studs who bring you so much versatility on your roster, man.
Well, yeah. So Kim and Tanner, those are the two focal points right now for our team. We've had some really good players in the past. We had the MVP of our league, last year. The last 4 out of 5 MVPs pretty much been from our team, from our school. And Tanner is rolling right in that same category. He's really good. He's playing good basketball. But he waited his turn. He was a sophomore. He was a sophomore last year, playing behind the conference MVP. Got an opportunity. Now he's showing out. Kim Macon, does a little bit of everything. He can guard anybody on the court whenever he needs to. He rebounds, he shoots the three, he can post up. So he's a nightmare, and these kids, these young men didn't have any scholarship offers coming out of high school. So this is a tribute to all of them. They put in the hard work, man. We just, we're sitting up here doing this, that, and the other. And, they do all the hard work, man. We just sit back and act like we know what we're doing and say, let's go do this. And, it's a player's game. The players ain't no good. The coach ain't no good. And it's simple as that. So
right.
you got to get these boys to play. And at the end of the day, when they're confident, they're playing confident, they're getting in the gym, and they understand what's going on, you look like you know what you're doing as a coach. And just letting them go out and play and getting them motivated and just watching them and have fun with their growth. They weren't big time recruits out of high school. None of our players were. They weren't big time recruits out of high school, but they got better since they've been here, and that goes into them wanting to get better, like you said, being some dogs and saying, hey, this guy was better than me in high school, but we'll see what's going on in college, and they're really seeing what's going on.
And you got 6 guys almost averaging double figures, man. That is
Mm-hmm.
great balance. Your Tanner's balling, of course, but
Yeah.
behind him, guys still getting the ball in the hoop too. So I feel like you guys have energy in that ball because other guys are alive offensively as well. Because that makes guys defend better too. They getting the ball on offense, they're going to defend better for you on the other end as well. And the ball going in the hoop there.
That is facts. That's the truth. And so when you're able to move the ball, like we're leading the league in assists. I don't. And these are all Division I games. I'm not going off of the non-D1 games when you score 150 points or 160 points and you want to claim you're the top lead in this and the top lead in that. I just go off our D1 games. So in D1 games, we're averaging 17 assists a game. That's pretty good. I can't say for we're not playing these reservation teams and all that. We're playing teams. And so for me, moving the ball and getting assists is important. Those are huge because it gives everybody an opportunity. So if you lead the team and you lead the league in assists as a team, you would think you'd have the lead and assist guy in the team, but we don't have a guy averaging over 4 assists a game. So everybody's moving the ball. They're trusting each other. They're playing. We've had I think we've had over 7 different guys lead our team in scoring. We have guys that can really put the ball in the basket. Our conference MVP, that was preseason MVP this year, obviously has gone through some sickness and things like that, but he's a bucket. He can get out there and score. So we have a lot of firepower. My thing is we got to play defense, and so I lose my mind when they make mistakes on defense. Offensively, they got to go out and play and be creative. They got to make plays. I tell them every day, I can't tell you how you're going to put this ball in the bucket, but you got to put it in there. You have ideas, you go do it. Do it within the structure, play team basketball, pass to the guy who's open, get the best shot, and go out and play. We don't run a bunch of sets. We're averaging in the Big Sky right now. We're leading the league in scoring at 84 points a game. Again, all D1 games. We don't take into account D2s and all that. So we're all D1 games in the Big Sky. We're averaging 84. We're shooting, we're the top team, either shooting the three, we're second, most threes, and we make the most threes. We lead the team, league in assists. So it's been fun to watch this team play. Now, teams are going to try to defend us and play us tough because, they think we're soft and they think we're soft, and we need to be able to, combat that with playing tough. And I think our guys have done that with our rebound margin. We're the top team with the rebound margin. We're beating teams in the glass by 6. So when you have an offensive team that's playing pretty tough, it's pretty hard to beat. So it's going to be fun to see what's going on down the stretch because you got Montana, who's a tough team. They've always out-physicaled us. They've always been tougher than us. They've taken it away from us the last 2 years ago to the NCAA tournament because we're one big league. And, we've played them. We've played them the 4 of the last 5 years in the conference tournament, I believe, 4 of the 5 years in the conference tournament. So, you look at that and you're looking at them and you say, okay, we've been once, they've been twice, so we want to go this year, so we got to beat them. But that's not the only team in our league. We have some really good teams, some really good coaches in this league, and some really good players. And so it makes the league fun. It makes it unexpected. You don't know what's going to happen, especially this year. You got teams. Some teams aren't playing. Some teams, like we didn't have to play Weber State this year. I wish we would have. That'd have been a marquee matchup. They're really good this year. They got 9 transfers. They got boys that can play. I'd like to see that game, but we're not going to be able to see that matchup this year. And different teams that we haven't played this year that we wish we could face to see where we're at. It's always a good barometer to see who the best teams in the league are and how it's all working out. And we haven't been, so it's going to come down to that conference tournament, which is going to be wild because everybody's been close. So it's going to be a lot of fun and. You never know who's going to get the first seed. You don't know. It doesn't matter. I don't think this year. I think it's going to just come down to who's playing best basketball at the end of the year for those last 3 games or 4 games if you don't get a bye.
Yeah, because you want to peak in Boise. We all know that. So, like I said, right now for me, it's about brick building for you guys. Build those bricks each day. Get ready for Boise. Be ready to go 100% full go in Boise. Get all the kinks out now because that's where it counts. Boise. And I want to see you go to the big dance. I want to see because I've stayed up late and watched Travis's team beat you, unfortunately.
Man, heartbreaking, boy.
3 hours away. I'm up late. I like Travis. Come on my show, but you my guy. So I'm cheering for you. I was like,
I had to flip back. I watched it too. So I watched it again and again and again. I ain't stopped watching, and so it's been tough, but you get learning lessons, man. And you're proud of your guys. Sometimes you don't have the opportunity. Last year would have been a great year to see where we stand. This year's going to be another great year if we can get there. You got to think in the 4 years so far, we've been in the championship game 2 years. We won the league last year. We're in first place right now. So we're building something really special. We've got great assistant coaches. We've got great players. I really enjoy being around this team. They have fun. It's the continuity thing. Everyone's going to the transfer route. Everyone's going JUCO and transfers. Obviously, we haven't had to go that route. We have all high school kids, and so that's another thing. I've really enjoyed building here. Is just a bunch of high school kids out there. Getting better. And we haven't had to go get grad transfers. We haven't had to dip into that pile because we've had continuity. We've had retention in our programming. So that's a huge thing too. And so we've been blessed to be able to have the same guys come in, same guy, get the culture going and the same coaching staff. We lost one guy down to San Diego, but I think that was the family deal. He had to go down there for family and the continuity we've pretty much had since we've been here. And so that's a huge thing and that's building something special out here.
Now, Coach, how's it cool to see guys like yourself, Dennis Gates are on the show as well today, TJ Johnson, Isaac Brown at Wichita State, Shaheen Holloway, St. Peter's. See all you young bucks in the game, coming up and doing big things. How I see the guys that you got in your peer group here, leading teams very well right now, and it can make some noise here in March.
Well, Gates is my old teammate at Cal, so I know Gates pretty well. I know DG. Call him the sheriff. He used to lock people up back in the day.
I knew I would call him there if I knew that. I would call him the sheriff.
Get him next time, and then ask him about Lou Alcindor's old record. But that's another thing. That's another story. But it's great to see. I think there's a lot of great minds in basketball right now, and I think you can see kind of the younger coaches starting to come up now because I've looked up to all the coaches in college basketball since I was little. Since I was younger. You look at how programs are built. You look at how they sustain success, and it's always been through hard work. And you're watching, and now you're seeing the younger coaches and the coaches that are now getting opportunities, that they haven't had in the past, and they're being able to put themselves in the right position. And so now you're starting to see, well, okay, they have a little bit of a different relationship with these young kids. They can really pull different things out. They're starting to understand. We understand the Twitter and the Instagram and all this the new generation of kids. It's and don't get me wrong, like coaches like Kelvin Sampson, somebody I've watched my whole life, and all these guys, they've been great coaches that I've looked up to. Ray Lopes, who's not coaching anymore right now, but those are coaches that you looked up to, and it was a different thing. I used to, when I was a player playing, I used to get chomped on a lot, and so this is how it works. Or it's this way or the highway, and you just, okay, coach, go back to your dorm, talk to your teammate. Coach is weak, man. He's a man, blah 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 blah. Now it's you pop on Twitter, I don't like my coach this, and I'm out. We don't have it. So now we got to figure out that mental side of the game and how we got to keep the kids there. And the way I've done it is I've been blunt, honest, and truthful with all the players. I think that's the best way to go. At the end of the day, all players want to play, and if you tell them that they're going to play and you bring them here and then they don't play, then that's the issue. If you tell them you got to work your tail off to get on the court, then they got to work their tail off. You ain't lie to them, and I think, sometimes we get caught up in that game. And I think some of these guys are starting to figure out, at the end of the day, you ain't got to make the circle happy. You just got to get you and that player got to be one-on-one, and you got to figure it out. And I think a lot of these young coaches are starting to figure that part out that the old school coaches knew a long time ago. I think there was some disconnect earlier with some of the coaches coming up, and now I think the younger coaches are now starting to figure that part out. And I think you could see it. It's experience with everything. It's experience. And now we're starting to gain some more experience. You're starting to see these young brothers come out here and do some damage. These young coaches that are doing really well. I think it's they've had the chance and the opportunity to. And you see other coaches who's been assistant coaches for a long time get their shot, and they're doing really well. And so, I just think it's always opportunity. And I think you go with the opportunity and you don't take it for granted. And I think a lot of guys right now aren't taking it for granted. I think they're really going after it, and it's fun to see. I pop on to see who's doing well, what coach is doing well, what teams are doing well. And you can't watch them play as much during the season, but you like to figure out and see how your guys are doing and how they're doing, and it's fun to see them doing well. And it's fun to see a lot of these coaches that are getting the shot do well, because sometimes if you don't do well, that looks bad for everybody else. And then they go back to the old norm, and you don't want that. You want to keep pushing. You want to keep pushing the limits for everything. And so we want to keep pushing and keep winning. And, at the end of the day, when you win, everything's gravy. Everything starts moving. You start moving the needle a little bit. And I think that's what's happening right now, is some of those teams are winning.
And it's cool that people like my next guest, Leonard Hamilton, Mike Davis, how they look out for guys like yourself, how they give you
Oh,
all the advice. You know what I'm saying? A guy like Frankie Allen, who I had around me at TSU, or Cy Alexander, who gives you advice. And look at Will Jones, a guy
hmm
I was in class with, Will Jones at TSU.
yeah,
He's a GA.
and
I was in class with that guy.
that's big time. And I don't know if Coach Ham even remembers. I hired one of his video guys, video coordinators. I have him here, Bobby Suarez, but I talked to Leonard Hamilton 3 times when I got the job, and his words still ring truthful in my ear. I still hear him. And obviously, I'm way over here on the West Coast, so we don't have the same. But I have different mentors and different guys that I talk to. But what he told me when I got the job, it's still stuck with me. And it's something that you look up to coaches like that. He's been doing it. He did it at Miami. He did it at Florida State. When they start talking about best coach in the country, why ain't he always mentioned? You know what I'm saying? And so he's one of the best coaches out there, and you want to be a pro, he got pros. You want to get to the tournament, he gets to the tournament. You want to get to the Sweet 16, he gets to the Sweet 16. If you're trying to look for a coaching job and get some knowledge, he just had Dennis Gates. He has CY. He's got Stan. He's got guys that he's helping. And, it's a huge thing to be able to, pick those guys' brains. They always have time for you. They never shun you. Obviously it's during season time. You got to pick the right time to do it. But I think if I was to call him, or if I was to call any other mentor of mine right now, they would help, and they would say, this is what you should be doing here. I have a bunch of them in the game, and it really helps to lean on those guys because they've experienced and done. He's done more in his hand than I've done in my whole career. He could figure. I mean, he's seen more things than I've seen in my 30 years, probably in a short 10-year span when he first got it going. And so it's great to really be able to pick people's brains and figure out how to be successful in this game, because it's hard. And and you deal with sometimes regret. You didn't do this, you didn't do that. Sometimes you deal with a little bit of depression. Why did we lose this? Sometimes you deal with anxiety. There's a lot of things you deal with as a coach that you can't show your team, but you're dealing with it constantly, daily, every single day, and nervousness, being excited for the game. Did you do this right? I mean, there's so many boxes you need to check. And then when you talk to somebody who's been in it for so long, they calm you down, they slow you down. They said, man, just listen, just go at task at hand, understand, be who you are. You don't need to be this, you don't need to be that. Just be you, and win, lose, or draw, you got the right guys around you, you're happy no matter what. And I've taken that advice from a lot of the coaches.
As Coach Ham told me, his mentor is right behind you, and John Thompson and John
Yeah,
Chaney,
yeah,
who just passed
yeah,
away, that they're giving him advice. He said he has to pay it forward to help out guys who want to be like coaches' business. He said it's my job to pay it forward and give back to these young coaches. So it's great that he does that for you guys, man. How he talks about how John Thompson helped him out. John Chaney,
yep,
we lost Lou Hill, another guy
yeah,
who helped people
man,
out. Anthony Stewart, we lost him, another guy who helped people out with that great zone he played at UT Martin. And I'm an OVC
yep.
guy. I'm an OVC guy, so I know that zone very well. UT Martin and
Oh
Stewart
man,
played, man. So these guys we've lost, like Coach Chaney, Coach Thompson, Coach Lou Hill, and Coach Stewart, man, great basketball minds who gave up their family time, gave up a lot to give guys like myself opportunity, you
yep,
opportunity. So I feel like these men mean so much to so many people, because coaching is a fraternity for all people, helping guys like myself, radio guy, playing
yes,
sports, you really help you out. So
it's
like
huge.
it's great, man, how guys willing to give that to people like you and I and get us where we want to go in our lives. And
Exactly. And what going off that, man, my mom was a single mom, you know what I mean? And so I was just grew up with her. And my father figures in my life were
same here.
always coaches. And I was lucky because I got good men in my life that were huge. Ray Lopes, he coached, he was with Kelvin in Oklahoma. He became the head. He was at Washington State with him. He was at Weber State. He started at Weber State, Big Sky, went to UCSB. Then he went to Washington State with Kelvin. Then he went to Oklahoma. Then became the head coach of Fresno State. And having guys like him in my life, Sal Rodriguez, it changed my life. And I was able to look up to people who were successful that just didn't hoop and didn't do certain things, to be successful. They went to school, they handled their business, and they had families, and it shows you the right things and the right way to do it. And every coach in my life has always been something that I've taken from them, and it's always been something great. And so as a coach, that's what I want to do. I want to be in my players' lives for the rest of their lives. I want them to call me in 10 years and say, hey, coach, come to my wedding. I'm about to get married. I'm about to have my first kid. I want to be a part of that, And I think that's huge. And I think a lot of coaches Some coaches in it for the wrong reasons. They're in it for the money. They're in it for, oh, I get to travel. They're in it for all this other stuff. That ain't the way to be in it. If you running for this job for money, you ain't gonna be successful. It ain't gonna happen. If you're doing it for the right reasons, you want to win a national championship, you want to do it with great people, you want to help young men and young coaches out and pay it forward like all these coaches have done in the past. And yeah, that's what you should be doing, because it changes people's lives. It changed my life for the better. I didn't know how to become a man until I had the right people in my life to show me that. My mom did everything she could in her power, and she was the strongest person I've ever known in my life. But some of those life lessons I didn't get to learn without a coach in my life, and that's what I want to be for my players, and that's what I want to be for coaches coming up in the game that don't have the experience. I want to be there if they need some help. I want to be there for them. And I'm still young. I'm young in the game. I still got a long ways to go, but at the same time, I started somewhere, and I could have got some help from some young bucks, some young head coaches that I didn't get the help from. But as you mature and get older, you understand that because right now, to be honest, coaches my age are always trying to one up another coach. I got to beat this cat. I got to do this. I got to out recruit him. I got to shine. But you can't. That's not how you look. That's not how I look at it anymore. When I first started as an assistant, that's all I was thinking about. I got to be better than this guy. I ain't gonna help this guy out. I ain't gonna do this. I got to worry about me, right? And now, as I've been coaching, and I ain't been coaching long, but as I've been around and I've seen how other men have done it in the position I've done, I was wrong. I was wrong. I should have been helping the JV high school coach out when he wanted to do this, or the other assistant coach out that was at another school that wasn't doing well and we were doing good. I should have been helping those men out. But you live and learn, experience. I'm willing to help anybody out. They call me, they want to set up a time to talk. I'll get on any Zoom call. I'll talk to any coach that's looking to get some help, because that's what helped me as I move forward in my career. And that's why I think I'm at where I'm at, not just because I got these X's and O's, because I've gained experience and I've learned from people. And I want to be that for somebody else. I want somebody down the road to be like, man, Legs has helped me become a good coach. I'm where I'm at today because of him. And then you start getting a great reputation. And early in my career, I was more like, I'm going to recruit everybody. I'm going to bring all these players in. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a head coach by the time of this. I got these goals. I don't care who's in front of me. I ain't trying to help nobody. And that's not how you got to do it, man. You got to do it the right way. And then when you do it the right way, good things happen. Even if it doesn't happen, you still got good people around you and you've done it the right way. You put your head on your pillow at night and be happy that you've done things the right way. You haven't had to, go this route or this route or this route, do anything shady. You've helped the people you needed to help, and you go to sleep feeling cool, man. And I feel like I've been on that track the last 3-4 years, and I'm willing to help people, and I'm willing, because that's what's happened with me. And when you're young, and I'm still young, but when you're younger than me, man, it's cutthroat world. You think it is, but it's not. It's not. You got to be there for each other. You got to help them out. And hearing other coaches' stories talk about how a coach was in trouble. This was one of the biggest stories that made me think. There was a coach in trouble, and he was in his last year of his contract. He's probably going to get fired. They voted him coach of the year. They got together as a coaching staff, vote in a conference. I ain't going to say that now, but they got in a conference together and voted that guy coach of the year, and he kept his job. I mean, those are the things like when you get these ballots and when you get these things, you're like, oh man, I ain't voting for him because he might take my coach of the year shine. That ain't how it's supposed to be. And as you keep moving forward in the game, you start getting friends. You start getting relationships with people that you hope last a lifetime, and you hope that you don't cross nobody, and you don't do things like that. And as a young coach, I'm starting to figure that part out, man. It's a great game to be involved in. You want to help people more than try to step on them and step on their throats and try to be better than them. Obviously, you want to win the games. You do want to win the games, but you want to help people achieve their goals as you're trying to achieve yours at the same time. Sometimes you have to beat them in a game. Somebody's got to win. I hope it's me 100% of the time.
Yes.
But you want to help them get there so you can beat them and then be cool about it afterwards. You know what I mean? But it's been like that. Trav and Coach Ray, Randy in this league, and these coaches, they chop it up. Sometimes you feel a certain way about another coach, but still at the same time, as you keep gaining these relationships and starting to understand what this is about, it's about helping these young men. At the end of the day, it changes your outcome and your outlook. It changed your outlook of everything. I want to help my guys be successful down the road. How did you get your players to be successful 10 years from now? Not just today. And there's some coaches, and again, for each his own. But there's some coaches that only care about themselves and only want to, do good for themselves. They want to make that next money. They want to get this job. They want to get that. That ain't how it is, man. You learn. I've learned. And I wasn't like that when in my 20s. I'll tell you that much. I wasn't like that in my early 30s either. So you learn, and you just hope that when you help somebody, they do the same thing and they start to figure it out down the road. It's just like everything else. You mature, and I think I'm starting to get to that point.
Well, Frankie Allen did it for me. June of 1992, going to his basketball camp. A kid from Atlanta, didn't have nothing happened. But him and Carlos Rogers, Anthony Mason took a liking to me as a young kid from Atlanta. He knew I was in town. I wasn't from Nashville. So took me under his wing and showed me opportunity. Guess where I ended up going to school at? TSU, Tennessee State University.
Yep.
5 years old, 92. That man
changed.
Showed me something different other than Atlanta, Georgia Tech, Georgia State, and Kennesaw. I saw something different in Nashville, and I went to school there, and I got to play ball there. I got to do a lot of things at Tennessee TSU because of one man. I met in June 1992, 29 years ago.
It changed. Anything could change somebody. Anything. You could change that drop of a dime. You know what I'm saying? You could change instantly, There's been so many. Benny Seltzer. I don't know if you know Benny Seltzer. He was at Oklahoma. He played basketball at Washington State. He's a coach now. He's been a head coach. But going to spend time with him when I went to go visit my big brother at Oklahoma, he was a coach there and changed certain things you don't forget. Like you forget things, you forget a lot of things. But you don't forget certain things that really change you and touch you. And so, it's really, if you could be that for somebody, you've done something with your life. If you could be that and help it change it. If you can do that for somebody else,
yes,
you've done right in your life. You know what I'm saying? Now if you can do that for multiple people,
I'm telling you.
If you do it for multiple people, there you go.
Because Legs, look here, Legs. I grew up in the hood, man. Vine City, right by the stadium. Where that's the hood of Atlanta.
Yeah. And now you're doing a radio show and you're helping everybody out, man. And that's huge. And that's my thing. Like if you're able to help somebody, man, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing on the planet. You know what I'm saying? You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Now, obviously, you want to be successful. You want to be able to help and leave a legacy. You're doing that. You're doing that because word of mouth. They're going to talk about you. Somebody's going to talk about that. They're going to remember the story you told. They're going to remember. As long as you're doing that and as long as you're putting people in chance to be successful, I mean, what else you got? You
got that right. And you know what, Legs? What's good about this is that for me, I own this show. Nobody can tell me who I can book. Nobody can tell me, all right, you can't have him on the show because he's not Georgia. No. I can talk to anybody I want to, whether it be Legs, I can talk to D. Gates, I can talk to Leonard Hamilton. Nobody can stop me. I can give everybody on a platform here. From Chattanooga to Macon, Georgia. In this big area, 2.1 listeners, 2.1 million listeners, Coach Legs.
But that's what's happening, man. And that's what's up. Like I was reading one of your tweets the other day, and you retweeted one of your guys saying, "I got people big timing me on my show. I won't come on my show and talk now all of a sudden, but I'm always here for people." That ain't the way to live, man. That ain't the way to go. And you always got to pay it forward, man. That's something I really do truthfully believe in. And if you have that opportunity to, you got to do it. You have to do it. There's going to be mistakes. Everyone's going to make mistakes. That's life. But as long as you know that you're pushing and you're trying to be the best person you can be and try to help people, you're sleeping good at night.
No doubt. Because guess what? I know we come on the Bossman so we can get a good interview, long form interview, no pressure, positivity.
No
gotcha questions. And nothing about, I'm not going to talk about why guy ain't playing well with you. Exactly. I listen to the media that covers you every day. Me, I'm doing something way different. That's their job. That's not my job.
That's the fact. And that's the facts, man. That's the facts. And when I first got the job, you were my first interview. You were one of my first interviews when I became a head coach, besides the local press. And you start doing good. Everybody wants, you start talking to you. Know how it is.
Oh yeah.
It is what it is, but I'm always gonna break time for you, man. And that's the thing, man. It's always paying it forward. It's always being able to help somebody when they can help you. And you being able to talk to me and get my voice heard over in Atlanta and in that area, I was able to recruit a couple guys. You know what I'm saying? And so, it puts me in a different spot. You got Rayburn Gap over, you got schools over there, you got people listening. And you put me on the same podcast with Leonard Hamilton. They got to hear somebody before him. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I don't mind being that guy. I'll be switched right in there. Just give me the last 5 minutes. Who's this cat? You know what I'm saying? Hey, that's all I need.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? They go look at him and be like, oh, that's Coach Hamilton. Let me go ahead. Oh, he's on there with whoever this kid is. Okay, cool. All right, now my name's out there. Thank you,
Yeah,
Coach Ham. You know, I don't
yeah.
mind. You put me on here with them. You can fast forward to me and listen to him, but you had to
You
look at
had
my
this the
name on that
legs
shit.
first to get to the Coach Hamilton.
You had to fast forward, and it's there. It's on there. That's anything to get your name out there to help. You know, to help recruiting is always huge, man. And that's what's happening, man. And so I appreciate everything.
Well, Legs, man, thank you for your time today, my brother, as always, man. Good luck against Montana, man. I'm cheering for you. Trevor's
Man,
my guy, but I'm
I
cheering for
know.
you, man. I'm
Hey,
cheering.
he's my guy too. I hope we beat him twice. He's my
Yes.
guy though. They've been kicking our butt.
Hey,
So
man. Hey, have a good one. I'll talk to you real soon, my brother.
appreciate it, man.
Anytime, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
All right, man. Peace.